Main character energy, aka antisocial personality disorder, has been plaguing the internet recently, so much that the term has transformed into a new diagnosis called main character syndrome. Basically narcissism's little iPad kid brother. And at first glance it might seem like a few one-off instances of people just being overly self-absorbed, but as trends like this become more popular, it's clear this syndrome may be highly contagious. A majority of these videos involve an influencer being publicly disruptive to those around them, like this video. This girl is blatantly putting her phone in a stranger's face and then giggling about it like it's not a complete invasion of personal space. Videos like this really highlight a detachment problem that this generation has developed. People have become very disconnected from those around them, becoming more concerned with their online persona than their IRL one. We're in an era where social media has overtaken real-life connection as the predominant means of socializing. So even in a public space surrounded by people, our eyes stay glued to an artificial world rather than the real one. Social media has made it possible to have zero friendships in real life, yet still have 100,000 people invested in you online. Someone in the comments says, they go from being so pretty to yeah, I don't care the second they start doing this stuff. And that couldn't be more true. Completely being self-absorbed is extremely unattractive. This video screams, everybody look at me and this quirky thing I did, haha, I'm so cute. When in actuality, it's just invasive, selfish, and completely immature. And speaking of being immature, this next video is a perfect example of a child trapped inside of a woman's body.
It's funny! I hate you! Bro, you're a weird too. Like, it's not funny. Dude, no, you are rushing me to the point of what I really got sick. You I hate you. You're a loser. You're a loser!
She is screaming at the top of her lungs at her boyfriend, completely publicly humiliating him. And for what reason? Did he cheat on her? Nope. He did something much worse. He rushed her through the airport so that they wouldn't miss their flight. Bruh. I mean, this woman is having a public meltdown over having to pick up the pace a little bit so that they could catch their flight. And the poor guy is just sitting there, calm as can be, trying to tell her to relax, and she is just not having any of it. She's furious, screaming at him that she hates him. So many of the comments are telling this guy he just needs to walk away and never look back. Sir, you need to run away as fast as you possibly can. Another commenter said, if that's how she acts in public, imagine what it's like behind closed doors. That's so true. I'm sure we're only seeing the very tip of the iceberg here. I wanted to include this specific video in here because I feel like main character syndrome also severely affects relationships. Modern relationships seem to be bringing a self-centered perspective into their partnership, which can quickly become disastrous considering a relationship is supposed to be about what two people can bring to the table for one another. It's not supposed to be this one-sided situation of what's the most that I can possibly get out of this person while putting in the least amount of effort, which is what it feels like these days. And speaking of being one-sided, this next video is a perfect example of that. I feel like this prank should only be funny to a 12-year-old boy. But here we are, witnessing a grown man pull an obnoxious stunt like this. People are clearly looking at him wondering what the hell he's doing, and he just does not care whatsoever. I completely forgot to read this comment out loud while I was recording. This rage nonsense is finding its way into the schools. Kids think this is funny and they try to outdo each other with shock value. I have 15 years of teaching before I can retire. Not sure I'll make it with this BS going on. Exactly. This is something that some kids would do in high school. Kids. Not adults. And if this is how adults are acting, I can only imagine how bad it is for kids that grew up on social media. This video shows just how little respect people have for authority or people around them in general. Many teachers are quitting their jobs these days because of the blatant disrespect and childishness that this generation has. Main character syndrome in general is just a very childish phenomenon that really exemplifies how juvenile our current world is. Instead of maturing, people seem to be regressing into children who constantly crave attention and want to get their way all the time. I'm hesitant to say that these people are not grounded in reality, because now that people spend an average of 8 hours a day on their screens, well, the internet kinda is the new reality. It's very scary to think that people are spending more waking hours on their phone than they are in real life, which means the internet is the new real life.
Walk across my video, despite having a bigger space to walk through on the other side. Mind you, the space between me and my phone is not that wide.
I've seen so many videos of people, usually women in the gym, getting mad at someone for walking in front of their camera while they're recording. And again, this just goes back to being completely detached from the people around you. Did you forget that you're in a public space? Did you forget that this facility was literally created so that multiple people could work out at the same time? Of course there's gonna be people walking around. They're probably not purposely walking into your video, they're just going about their business and happen to get in the shot. This belief that people should have the entire world revolve around them and they should just never be inconvenienced is wild to me. You exist around other people, so it's important to be at least somewhat considerate of them. There we go. This guy gets it. When you're filming in public, you are the inconvenience, not everybody else around you. So it's important to be mindful of other people. Which is crazy that I even have to say that. When you live in a culture that overemphasizes the main character energy and doing whatever you want, it creates this hyper-individual mentality where no one else matters except for you. All of these examples of main character syndrome are just blips of extremism in an ideology that is already pervasive in society. It's really sad to think that people used to value community and invest themselves into projects that helped that community, but now that social media has replaced this fundamental social structure, hyper-individuality has inevitably presented itself. And the sad thing is that I think this type of behavior is going to progressively become more normal over time. I remember when the term selfie started getting popular, iPhones got front-facing cameras, Instagram came out, all this stuff kind of happened around the same time. And I remember even after years of all of this being popularized, it still felt kind of weird to take selfies in public. Like if you did take a selfie, you would take one as quickly as possible and then shove it back in your pocket and start giving your surroundings the side eye. Like, did anyone see that? But fast forward a decade and now I see it everywhere all the time with zero hesitance at all. People even bring around entire tripods to get YouTube content. I've done this myself so many times for this channel. It took less than a decade for an idea to go from kinda weird and a little embarrassing to completely normal and socially acceptable. I'm really hoping this main character energy thing does not follow a similar trajectory. This is why it's important to be really conscious of the type of media that you consume. I think it's a good idea to try to avoid just endlessly scrolling through this stuff. With people spending progressively more and more time on social media, it's important to take a step back and actually moderate what it is that you're watching.